Hello, welcome to the podcast. My name is Caitlin if you're new, and thank you for being here today. I have had an interesting weekend. Still trying to slow my roll on this topic that's been nagging at my brain. It's just very complicated. There's so many emotions behind the topic, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look at the last episode, but it was on monogamy and morality, and just what I logically think and how I emotionally feel don't line up all the time, and I think that's really hard for me to reconcile. And it's not just with that one topic either. This happens a lot where I logically understand something one way, but I don't feel that way in my body. And I don't know if this is something that other neurodivergent people experience. Probably. But it's I can understand lots of different perspectives and topics and come to a logical conclusion, and then it feels weird in my body still. And I'm like, well, but I shouldn't. Or not even necessarily that I shouldn't feel that way, because I keep trying to allow myself to feel the way I'm going to feel, and tell myself that it's not wrong to have emotions, or not wrong to have different, it's not normally emotions, it's normally physical sensations. It might be just that I don't know what I'm feeling. That's all. It happens a lot. But I tend to have more physical sensations when it comes to complex emotions or complex topics. So for me, it typically manifests itself in gut related or internal anxiety responses. So I will feel one way about a topic, but then my body is like, you're gonna feel sick now. And I'm like, but why? Why is it making me feel sick? So then I go into a spiral of trying to figure out, well, why is it that I am, feeling this way? I don't know, and then that can often get me on the same loop where I'm thinking about the same thing, trying to dissect why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. Then I'm like, well, maybe I should come to a different conclusion. Maybe the original conclusion was incorrect. So then I'm like, okay, let me work through this again. And then I've just been doing that this whole time. And so I've talked to my partner about it because, it's very important to me that I am open with my partner. Also, I feel that he understands me better than anyone and is, even if he doesn't understand, he does his best to really listen to me, and that he cares about me, and that's important when talking about a vulnerable topic, or talking about vulnerable feelings that I don't really understand. It can be really hard to talk about something that you're not really sure of, especially for me, because I don't like to talk about anything that I don't know concretely, or at least feel that I know concretely. So when I have this unease, it's very hard for me to articulate, and I'm always afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing, and sometimes I do, and it's just a lot. Yeah, and so that's kind of how my weekend went. Like, it wasn't the whole weekend, but definitely multiple parts of the weekend consisted of different thoughts on that. And I'm just trying to, like, I'm just trying to get through the stuckness. But I also felt like it was kind of a topic that I needed to like fully flesh out my opinions on and my thoughts on, because it's a topic that will affect my relationship for the rest of this relationship, which I hope will last a very long time. So I definitely don't want to like gloss over it and have this come up later. And like it will probably come up here and there, because this isn't the first time I've thought about it, but this is the first time I think I've really allowed myself to think about it. And sometimes I say allow, I don't feel like I necessarily had a whole lot of a choice. It just kind of wouldn't stop. But I'm also just trying to be kind to myself and not I don't know. I tend to have a lot of shame around thoughts that I have. And I'm trying not to do that, because it's guilt and shame don't do anything for me most of the time. Like, guilt has a place occasionally for when, you do something wrong and you're remorseful. But it doesn't have a place when it comes to random thoughts that come into my head, or even necessarily thoughts that sometimes get stuck in my head. They're just thoughts. And I think that I just have to be really cautious with my actions and reactions to those thoughts. I have to be comfortable enough in myself to know what I want, to know how to articulate that to other people that may want different things, which is really hard for me because I'm a huge people pleaser. So if I am not only a people pleaser, but I'm also mildly curious about the thing, like it can lead me to do things that I don't actually want to do, just because I'm like, oh, I'm kind of curious and I don't want to say no because I don't like saying no to people. That's not a reason to do something. Like, that's not a reason to compromise on areas where I otherwise wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, I don't know. I'm being very vague here, but that's because a lot of people that I know may see this, and I don't want to be like too descriptive. But it took me a really long time, and it's still like unsettling for me, to really realize, maybe it is more of the people pleaser side of me. Maybe it's the maybe I am curious. I like, I will have thoughts about things, but what does that look like in reality? It can be hard for me to kind of construct all of the potential feelings and experiences surrounding something that's not happened. So yeah, sometimes I'm curious, but then I have to think, okay, why don't I imagine that this is what happened? how would I feel? Would I regret that? I used to do lots of things that maybe I wouldn't do today if I were in the same situation, you know? I kind of like having the stories, but then I'm also like, I don't know, I had a lot of internal struggles, which may or may not have contributed to my IBS problems and anxiety issues, because I didn't really know what I was like. I didn't really think things through, which is unusual for me because normally I do, but I was just kind of reacting and trying to be more go with the flow and trying new things. And trying new things for autistic people can be really hard sometimes, and you're like, oh, but the ADHD side of my brain's like, oh, but like I need some excitement because I'm bored and I'm understimulated in certain areas, or like this is intriguing for me. But then the autistic side of me is like, whoa, this is too much. And then it's like, but it's too late, at that point. And especially when it comes to like sexual things, I know it's never too late. Consent is something you can withdraw at any time. I understand that. But like in my head, in not just sexual situations, other situations, it's like, but like I'm already here, and I'm too much of a people pleaser to like stop now or to like change my mind, and I don't even know if I want to change my mind, and just like yeah, it's just really annoying sometimes to be in my head. But I guess I say all that to say it can be very difficult to have very conflicting opinions and viewpoints, and I was raised one way, how I believe now is very different. Knowing the facts, historical context around different things that we consider to be sexually deviant that actually have existed forever and were mostly considered that because of religious context and religious like indoctrination. So it's just like I understand all of this stuff on like a surface level, on like a intellectual level, but my body still feels very much the same way that I did when I was a kid in a lot of ways. And so trying to reconcile those is really hard, and I'm probably going to have to talk to my therapist about this, because it's like it's a lot to process. But I think it's worth processing because it has impacted my life in a lot of different areas, a lot of different ways. It's impacted my sense of self, which is already something that is complicated for me because I don't have a very strong sense of self, and it's typically tied to external factors like things that I wear or what I like specific phrases that I say, or like just external things that aren't necessarily like me. They're just things that I have taken on. So when it comes to something like this, when it actually does have to do with like core beliefs of mine, and it affects people that I care about, it can just, I don't know what to think. I don't know what's the right thing to think. And typically I just look to someone else to tell me what that is, I'll just be like, okay, well, I don't know, so let me find somebody that I think is more qualified to make that decision than me. And with this specific topic, I don't have that. I do look to my partner because my partner is my partner and I care so much about them, and I would never do anything that would hurt them, or even like I don't even want to think about doing something that would hurt them so that's where the conflict comes in, where like even having the thoughts feel wrong. And so it's like, but like I also want to go to them to ask, but then it's like we're different people and we've had very different life experiences. We were raised very differently. We've, just gone through very different experiences in our adult life. And it's like, he's not necessarily an authority figure on that subject. I still value his opinion more than anybody else's because that's the person I've chosen to be with, but like I still feel like I don't have somebody to look up to when it comes to this, and the people that I do kind of look up to have different opinions than he does, and I'm like, okay, well, reconciling everything, reconciling how I feel, how the people that I feel are more knowledgeable than me feel, how he feels, like they're all so conflicting that it's just like, what is right? I don't know. And I don't like not knowing. I want to know things. So, yeah. That was a long-winded way of telling you all of the things I've been thinking. But hey, it's that was a condensed version, believe it or not, of my entire weekend. And I'm kind of tired of this. Like, I wish I could just like pause, just hit pause on the thoughts and be like, I'll come back to you another time when I've got more energy, but like I need to rest up and not think about this. But like it just doesn't stop. It doesn't work quite like that. But I'm gonna try to distract myself with other things, and maybe that'll help. I don't know. We'll see. Anywho, before I run out of time, because I've been talking about that all day, we're going to talk more about strength-based strategies for neurodivergent care and support. And, yeah. Sometimes I really feel like I'm never going to be able to be an expert on this because I have such a hard time managing my own stuff sometimes, but, therapists go to therapy. Everybody's got their things. Doesn't mean that you don't have the skills or knowledge to help other people. So we'll see. I'm very much still at the beginning phases of this, but leveraging cognitive diversity in problem solving and innovation. So I interpret that as, for me, obviously, I can get stuck on a specific topic and ruminate on it. That could actually be really useful in some situations. Now, it can't really choose sometimes what you get stuck on, so that can be hard. But, I think there is a reason why autistic people tend to be very knowledgeable in certain areas, because those are the things that their brain gets stuck on. And so, yeah, maybe I would be good at understanding sex psychology. Maybe that would be something I would be interested in. I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's other areas that I am intensely interested in or get stuck on. Those are different things, by the way. Getting intensely interested in something and then getting stuck on something. Stuck implies that you don't really have a choice and you don't really want to sometimes. Having intense interest, though, is you want to be thinking about that thing. So for me, it's I've been dealing with a bit of the not wanting to be stuck on this topic. So I don't know if that's something that I should really pursue any further. I'm not sure. Yeah. But that's an aspect of my cognitive diversity that could be really helpful in problem solving, because I could get, really stuck on how to solve this problem and think about it over and over and over and over again until I come up with a good answer. So it's could be really useful. I'm sure there are other ways too. That's just the thing that's on my mind. But same could be said for ADHD when it comes to noticing different things. Like, my partner was saying yesterday that, like, if somebody's talking over here, he's still, like, noticing, like, what's going on over here. And that, like, sometimes it can be hard to really, like, focus in. Because we were talking about focus a little bit with my dad, and how, like, when you focus intensely on something, like, everything else kind of fades away. And you don't notice the peripheral as much. And so he was saying that he kind of finds it to be annoying, but it also could be a strength where, like, he would probably still notice more happening out here than maybe the typical person. So that could be really helpful in trying to come up with, like a cohesive scene, or trying to look at the broad picture of something more visually or, experiential. I think it takes understanding that that's a strength of yours in order to be able to use it. But I think that it is, there are definitely ways of using whatever your strength is, and kind of embracing the way that your brain processes information. Okay, embracing various ways of thinking to tackle complex challenges and drive positive outcomes. So yeah, basically kind of what I was already talking about, where, like, it's almost like harnessing the way your brain naturally works. People sometimes call it, oh, you have, like, a superpower. It's like, no, it's not. It's really not. It's just different. And sometimes it can be super annoying. But understanding how we can use that to drive positive changes, it might feel a little bit less like a burden if we're able to kind of use the way that our brain thinks to make positive changes in, whether it be our environment or whatever we do for work. Encouraging positivity towards challenges as a growth and developmental opportunity. That's still a hard one for me. I think it is kind of for everybody, but, like, it's not always fun to be challenged, or to be in a challenging situation. But looking at it as I'm growing as a person, or I am growing in my work, it's a mindset shift that it definitely helps. I think that sometimes it can go a little too far, where I have dismissed my own needs because I'm like, oh, but I'm growing. Like, actually, no, I'm exhausted and this is hurting me. So it's important to distinguish what that is. Know when you really need support, or know when it's something that is good for you to handle on your own, or maybe a combination. But yeah, continuous learning, just it can be tough when your brain like won't stop though. So I think that's like right now I'm like, I want to stop learning, but my brain doesn't want to. But it is important to continue to educate yourself, especially on topics that are impacting your life, and just to help grow in your understanding. I think that each time I get in these kind of ruts, I'm starting at a different place, and so it's a good to notice that, hey, like I'm starting with more information than I had the last time. I have a better understanding of this, and next time something like this happens, I'll have an even better understanding. So yeah. Personalized guidance and support to maximize their strength and reach full potential. So yeah, this is something that sometimes I wish I had my own person, because I am kind of doing a lot of this on my own. And yeah, maybe I will try to find someone that can kind of give me some support too. But it is important for, as a support person, and even as yourself, to like not compare yourself to others, and have a personalized view of what it's going to take to achieve your goals. What are things that you really want to see in your life? And it doesn't really matter what the outside world is telling you about those things. It doesn't really matter if sometimes it's not even the outside world. Sometimes it's up here for me, where I have this kind of internalized ableism, or just a lot of negativity towards myself, towards my interests, towards my desires, and I've gotten better over the years, but it's definitely still a struggle of mine, that looking at myself through a positive lens and being like, just allowing myself to have those things in my life, and not always think that everything's wrong, everything's bad, everything's stupid. The fact that I want certain things, that I project other people's opinions onto, and I like assume other people are going to think that that's weird, or that it's silly. I've always kind of had that problem. It's not completely unfounded. I've definitely had people tell me that before, but I've definitely kind of extrapolated that to everything in my life over the years, and so I'm trying to dial that back now, and it's kind of hard. Part of me's embraced it. Part of me's like, yeah, I like being weird. I like being unusual. I like when people are surprised by things that I'm interested in. But then it can also be really isolating. Feeling like, well, nobody really understands or can relate to me. So, I don't know. Offer constructive feedback and encourage self-awareness and confidence. Oh man, self-confidence. That is a hard one. Every time I start to feel a little bit confident, something in my brain just like knocks me right back down, and I don't know why. it's the shitty committee in my head that's telling me that everything is stupid and that I am wrong, and it's like, ugh, it's so annoying. Um, because then there's another part of me that feels like I'm pretty intelligent and that I have a lot of the right answers, and so it's like, oh God, why? There's just this constant struggle all the time in my brain, and it's just, I feel like if I were funnier, I'd be a comedian. This is how comedians are born, right? Like they're just like born out of these experiences, right? Having this internal struggle. I don't know. Maybe that's just my perspective, but I definitely think it helps to have that kind of exterior validation and somebody who is really trying to build you up. I think it can be really hard to do that for yourself sometimes, and you kind of need somebody to do that from the outside sometimes. You need a cheerleader. I tend to be like, oh, but I can do it on my own. I'm fine. I am, as my partner says, the most stubborn person he knows. Second would be my father, probably, because that's where I get it from. Just incredibly stubborn. And so I often think like, oh, I can do it on my own. I'm fine. And then I'm like, I can't. I am weak. I can't do anything on my own. And then it's just like flip flop of like, I can do everything on my own, or I'm like weak and useless, and I need somebody to carry me all the way through life. So it's just, yeah, I definitely need that. Like, I feel like the stubbornness doesn't come out of confidence, though. Like, it just comes out of, like, stubbornness. Like, I'm gonna do it, even if it's tough and I don't need to. I want to have more of just, like, the cool, calm confidence, you know? But I have none of those things. So, I don't know how to get those things, but I would like to. Yeah. Anyways, there's that. Gotta wrap it up here, jeez. Empowering, wait, okay. Matching strengths and interests with roles that allow them to thrive and contribute meaningfully. Obviously, I can't read my own freaking handwriting. Yeah. That's a tough one for me too, because I'm like, where do I fit? What is what should I do? What's an aspect of life that I should be focusing on career-wise? I just don't know. Definitely don't feel like I'm in the spot, but I also feel like I don't know what the spot is, and I kind of like it here. So I'm just gonna keep rolling with this for now, but it's like, yeah, it can be hard to figure out where you best fit, where your interests align with career opportunities that align with your capacity. It's a struggle. But I think it's also helpful to have somebody that has, that kind of unbiased outside perspective, because they might be able to kind of look at the more broad picture and not just like every little aspect that you have going on in your head. Empowering self-advocacy for needs and preferences, recognize and acknowledge progress and achievements. So, yeah, it's definitely, it can be hard to advocate for myself, especially when I feel like, well, if I don't know what my needs are, or if I'm not confident in what my needs are, or maybe I even feel a little bit ashamed of my needs, because I like to act one way. I like to feel cool and, do exciting things, but then like I really can't handle it either. And I don't like seeming weak and incapable, and so it can be really tough to reconcile those two, and to just advocate for myself. So I think it is helpful to have that support, and somebody that helps you recognize your achievements, because man, I can be really hard on myself, and having somebody that's like, yeah, but you did this, and look at how amazing that is, and you should be thinking and focusing about that, and maybe the rest of it won't seem so daunting if you take a moment to celebrate something that you achieved. Leveraging talents and unique perspectives to drive creativity and innovation and enhance organization performance, problem solving as an asset that sets organizations apart in competitive markets. So that really is tied to like career. I definitely think that there's plenty of opportunities for autistic individuals, ADHD individuals, and other neurodiverse groups to really harness the differences and abilities that we have, to look at things from a new perspective to most people, that is. It can be hard when it seems like, oh, but like I think of things differently, and is that wrong? And I feel like that kind of, at least for me, it stops me from really expressing myself or being okay with my own thoughts. But I think if I could get over that, if I could get over the insecurity and self-doubt, then it actually could be really insightful and useful for me to have my maybe unusual perspective of things, and that it could actually be really useful. So yeah, it's definitely not easy, but I think that it's necessary, at least for my own view of myself, and personal satisfaction, to really work on that part of me. But it is time to go, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for listening to my very discombobulated, ranty sort of episode. I tried to keep it together, but I don't know if I did very well. And I will talk to you guys later. And always remember, you are enough.